What's up guys, Barry Gaming here, back with some more AFK Journey, and today we're talking about Kruger, because even back at the very beginning of the game, man oh man, I loved using Kruger more than a lot of people and other content creators did, and he just keeps making a return, especially in the early season, every single time. Now there's one main reason why Kruger has become so important on your account lately, and that's with the release of Lenya, because Lenya is one of those top physical damage dealers in the game, even though she is A tier. On top of that, we also have Sinbad, another really strong A level physical damage dealer who's also a buffer. Those two heroes go very well hand in hand. Beyond that, running heroes like Shakir, who's awesome at doing a lot of different tasks, buffing your team, giving them defenses while also dealing damage. All these things pair very well, and now that we have a healer that matches this team as well in the form of, oh my goodness, where are you? They're at the top, Mikola. They all just synergize very, very well. However, there's one issue that happened in the season of Song of Strife that kind of removed Kruger from the meta, because remember, the main reason why we're using him is the Shatter Armor effect. This is going to reduce their physical defense. We also have Shatter Armor on the basic attack that he has too, as well as the ultimate skill. That's the main reason here. A lot of his other stuff don't do all that much. It's like survivability stuff, but it doesn't really matter too much. He doesn't do damage per se. He's there for the survivability. However, today we unlocked the Greatsword Spell, and this is essentially equivalent to the, oh man, Quick Blade, I think. I forget the name of the actual one from Song of Strife at this point, but this item does a lot of what he already does. So first off, this is an amazing artifact for physical damage dealing teams. You're getting 22% attack, which you can see is actually more. You're only getting 15.5 on Resonating Spell. If you ever need straight up attack, this is the best option. You're getting Life Drain, which is really cool, especially for those physical damage dealing teams, and tons of attack speed, which is more than the haste on any of the other ones, which is interesting. Granted, I think a lot of people like a haste over attack speed personally, but let's read what this actually says so you guys can understand. Whenever allies' physical damage dealt reaches 750% of the initial team's attack, so again, that's very important that it's the physical damage portion, you summon a giant sword from the sky to strike the area with the most enemies. When it comes to bosses, it's only going to hit the boss. This deals physical damage equal to 40% of the team's total physical attack within one tile, and reduces their defense by 40% for 5 seconds. So this is the thing here that is going to be important, is if this has high enough uptime, usually Kruger will be replaced with just another damage dealer per se, or just a better buffer. Because once you get this up further, you can see right here at level 20, increases the physical defense reduction up to 50%. Now, sadly, there's nothing that extends the duration of that debuff, which is kind of lame. The damage is what the damage is. That's not like super important here. But again, once we get to Resonance 700, we unlock additional damage. This is one that doesn't really matter as much, because you see on most of these here, a lot of these aren't very big. Some of them are more important, other ones not so much. But in this one, it was important to get to plus 20. So immediately we were able to get it to plus 20, and it turns out this is going to be a very big buff. But again, you have to deal 750% of the overall team's attack to get this to go off. So you almost don't want a too high attack power team, so having a lot of support heroes kind of synergizes as well, because that means you'll have higher uptime on this. So one thing I want to show you guys is we currently have our current Dream Realm formation with the record here, and you can see what mine is here today. On Orson, you know, we got like the Taylene, the Alsa, and the Lily May type combo. That seems to be what just about everybody is running here with the Resonating Spell. And we got up to about 83.6%. However, I've been messing around trying to see if we can get something physical to work out. But again, putting other support heroes in to make sure this procs more often could be a very good thing. My first instinct was to throw in a team like this with a Shakir, something like this, and then having this go off. But the issue here right now is that Kruger still has some uses, because you can see this bar down right above my head here. It's filling up, and you see how much time's already burned by. We have not used the sword once, so it went off there, it went off there again, it went off there again. So you can see once it starts going off is good, because that means we have the very high uptime But again, we need to make sure we are spamming this. And if we have enough physical damage dealers doing this, it should have a very high uptime as the battle goes on here. So really just depends on how it's going. Right here, this one's taking much longer to go off right there. And it's kind of one of those, I don't know if running Kruger is going to be important. So this most likely is not going to be a new record. It's not like we're setting a new team by using Lenya and everything. That's not what's kind of relevant here. We're going to show you guys if the Kruger is worthwhile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop Kruger out for something else. Now, surprisingly enough, this is only like within 5-6% of our normal team. You see, Kruger actually does a sizable amount of damage here too. But what happens if we just drop him off and maybe add someone into this lineup like a Sinbad? Now, the issue with that is we do lose, you know, the 4 times when we only go down to 3 times. But let's see what this looks like. Because Sinbad, again, is a physical damage dealer. So he's going to be able to contribute to the procs of this sword. And let's see what happens, because he's also providing survivability and bonus damage. You see right here, the sword is down. Sword. So it does go off very, very, very often in certain situations, which is really good for us, because again, we need to have that very high uptime on that, getting rid of 50% of the defense on the boss. Because if you're counting that much defense ripping and then you're also adding Kruger on, when they stack together, you might think it's really good, but sometimes having different types of buffs on the boss sometimes ends up being better. Other times it's still very good. So based on what I see right here, first glance is that Kruger is still very much valid in using on these teams, because simply swapping him out for someone who does a different type of buff definitely netted less overall. Now, one thing I will say, I almost feel like Shakir is now the one that we could potentially take out. And if we add Kruger back into this mix, does our damage number go up? Get Kruger back in here. I always like putting him by himself since I have Mythic Plus. Just give him that little extra bit of shield early in the fight. It's not like the biggest deal, honestly. But let's see what happens now if we add Sinbad in instead of the Shakir. We're already getting attack buff, so the Shakir's attack buff isn't as important, I don't think. And right here is where we get in the blast of all of those swords flying down from the sky. Sinbad jumps out, reassesses, makes the boss, the hitter, and the guard debuff at the same time. This one's looking pretty promising, to be honest. I'm actually liking this physical damage team. And again, you want as many physical damage dealers on your team so that you're proccing this sword more often, because it specifically has to be physical damage that is being done. And it looks like we might break our previous record with physical damage dealers of 77%. And we're actually shockingly close to our magic damage dealing team, which is pretty awesome. Like, again, it's not a record or anything, but very, very good outcome. The only other thing I'd like to try at this point is what would happen if we took the Rainier out of here. Again, physical damage dealers are kind of hard to find that are very, very useful here. I feel like maybe throwing the Shakir back in might be the play. Doesn't seem like we need any other healers or anything like that. The only other thing I could potentially see is maybe throwing like a Smokey in. I don't know how Smokey would do in this situation. We got some extra attempts. We might as well throw them in just to see if we can find something to work out, because again, Rainier doesn't really do any damage, but Smokey's going to provide more attack for our team. And beyond that, he does have that damage from his aroma at Mythic Plus. So maybe in combination this works out and we have a very healy team right here. The only downside is Orson is going to silence our Smokey. He's going to interrupt those casts, but the other thing is I really don't know if Rainier and Sinbad's bonus damage stack or not. That's a big question. So far, this looks horrible. The percent that we're at right now is way lower than we previously had. So probably keeping Rainier in the team is the way to go. That extra 25% must stack with a bonus 25% provided by Sinbad's debuff, because yeah, this is way, way low. But it does kind of show you that even with this artifact, Kruger is still going to have uses, at least until we get to Endless, and then we'll have to kind of refigure out what's going on there, because the other thing, Kruger actually does a sizable amount of damage too. So let me know what you guys think. I want to show you guys the new artifact, the new synergy with Kruger, and let you guys know what I think. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I'll see you guys next time.